welcome back to another episode of Itzelstudies. I just want to give a little update to folks who've been following my education journey and just give some updates on where I'm at, as well as do a small Q&A towards the end of the video. I asked if y'all had any questions and I got a couple of really nice questions on my Instagram. Stick around for that towards the end. But yeah, let's go ahead and get started. I have my little coffee here, iced coffee, with my little Oaxaca sticker. Shout out to Reina, Oaxaca Queen. So I guess to fill y'all in on some of the updates that I've gotten so far, I heard back from Berkeley, not the decision yet, but I was able to get an interview for that, so that's happening next week. I'm kind of nervous for it. It's the only program that has an interview. The other ones that I applied to don't, so it's gonna be my first and only interview for this process, so we'll see how that goes. But I mean, I think just getting to this level of getting an interview kind of is a good sign, or at least that I have an opportunity. Whatever's on paper, it looks good for even just to get an interview. So I'm really excited about that. And another thing too is that the whole month of January I was not working. I quit my job a month ago, and since I wasn't in school, I was just literally resting, watching a lot of TV. I was having a little bit of stomach issues towards the beginning of the month in January, so that kind of made me feel a little bit anxious about just everything. Honestly, I have a feeling that my body was reacting to change, and it was just manifesting in stomach aches and just me needing to rest and also get my checkups done. So I took care of all of those things. I got some blood work done, and I was hopefully okay and everything. It was just literally I just need to chill out. But yeah, so pretty much I was just resting, emotionally, physically, mentally, not worried about anything other than my family and the pandemic, of course. But I think getting a little break from academics and work was so needed. So I honestly didn't even want to look for jobs yet, because I was I'm kind of in this weird limbo where if I get into a graduate program, it wouldn't start until the summer. So I have pretty much this whole spring semester off. So it's kind of hard to look for jobs that are, temporary or just part-time, especially in this pandemic where it's already hard to find a job. So I wasn't even emotionally ready to start applying for jobs. But I knew towards the end of the month in January that financially speaking, I needed to get a job soon. So I found this amazing job opportunity, and I was hired. I'm starting this week, which I'm really excited about. But yeah, it's really exciting. I get to work with youth. Coffee break. Yeah, and I mean, aside from that, I hear back from University of San Francisco this month. Also this month, I took the CBEST last Saturday. It was wild. I was pretty nervous for the exam, I'm not gonna lie, just because of the whole stigma around it being hard or just being inaccessible to students of color. I was a little bit nervous and anxious about it, but I think I did the best that I could with the resources that I have. I will also get the results this Friday. I really feel February is just test results for me, honestly. We'll see how it goes, but that's what I've been up to. Thank you so much for sticking around with my student journey. It's been really crazy. So yeah, I think I'll go ahead and start doing the Q&A now. So the first question I have is, what are some of your favorite courses, teachers, readings that were foundational to your journey? I wrote them down, but I want to share them a little bit more with y'all. I think the first one that kind of changed my mind completely about my whole concept of Latin America and the immigration system was the Latin American history class. The particular reason why this class was so important was because it talked about capitalism, globalization, forced migration, imperialism, and colonization. And so embedded in that, for me, what was really helpful was understanding the Mexican history as well as indigenous history and Latin American art, architecture, and indigenous traditions, cultures, and societal structures. I really feel like the professors that I had for these classes were so key to like giving me a critical analysis of Latin America and its relationship to the United States. Particularly this class that I took also that was called Drugs in the Americas, which talked about the historical policies in the US that impacted the way that the government had relationships with Mexico, with Central America, with Panama, and South America. It honestly helped me connect my history to the US and how our Latin American countries are impacted by US capitalism and globalization, colonization. So I really feel like that was my main introduction to ethnic studies, even though at that time I didn't know it was called ethnic studies. There actually wasn't an ethnic studies at City College when I first started. Towards my last year, I did take an intro to ethnic studies class at City, and that was taught by an amazing professor as well. So I really do think that this was kind of like the breakthrough for me. I also took a class on the labor history of Latin America and Latinas in the US, which was a little bit like a little watered down version of feminism, but it was still really good to have other queer women and women of color just like speaking about their experiences and living in a patriarchal society in relationship to our families and our societal structures. And I also took an LGBT studies class. This one was super helpful for me to be able to have more of an in-depth understanding of LGBTQ issues. I want to be an educator, so I really do think that I need to inform myself around these issues, particularly because I'm a straight person and I have a responsibility to educate myself around these issues. And I also took this really amazing violence as a public health issue class. I learned a lot of strategies around harm reduction. I learned how to identify like interpersonal violence. I learned a lot about different programs around the country that are intervening with the police. So there's some pilot programs that don't rely on the police to solve crimes or to solve interpersonal issues. So I feel like these classes really kind of like shaped my whole understanding of race, class, ethnicity, history. I think at Berkeley, I mean, all my classes were really amazing and really instrumental, but I think classes that really kind of just like hit my heart was definitely the abolition theory and practice, the prison industrial complex. And I think a lot of that, it was beneficial for me to learn more about because I was working around immigration detention and abolition. So understanding the complexities of like the criminal legal system as well as how it intersects with immigration. It was like applying what I was learning in the community with directly impacted folks and the historical context of prisons in the US and around the world. So now moving on to teachers and books that I really recommend. Black Reconstruction by W.B. Du Bois, Angela Davis. Are Prisons Obsolete? But any Angela Davis is also really good. Patrice Culler's When They Call You a Terrorist. Pedagogy of the Oppressed by Paulo Freire. For teaching, I love Teaching to Transgress by Bell Hooks. That is one of my top favorite books and that I always look to and to remind myself of why I want to be a teacher. A Note to Educators When Teaching Roses in Concrete by Jeffrey Duncan Andrade. That's more of an essay that he wrote. The Purpose of Education by David Labari. Black Study, Black Struggle by Robin D. G. Kelly. That's an article. And Mountain Movers is really good. It was made by my professor at UC Berkeley and her comrades. Some other authors that I really recommend and are instrumental: Sadia Hartman, Kelly Lytle Hernandez, and Jackie Wang. Question number 2 is, do you have a bucket list? I want to ride a hot air balloon, like anywhere. I don't care where it is, but I want to ride a hot air balloon one day. I think another one is to go to Hawaii. I'm undocumented, so I can't travel, but I want to go to Hawaii, and I want to buy my parents a house. So hopefully one day that will happen. And the last question that I have is, how do you prioritize yourself when you are a student? So some of these things I did do, some of them I didn't do, but I learned from them. So this is why I'm putting it on this list. But number 1 is definitely don't lose sleep over grades. I cannot stress this enough. I didn't do any all-nighters throughout my undergrad. I think I maybe did one all-nighter where it was for like math class that I just needed to pass this class. So I literally spent, like the whole night studying for it. But other than that, like, I think something that really helped me to understand like my stress was making sure that I'm telling myself, hey, this time tomorrow or this time next week, you're gonna be on break, or you're not gonna have this assignment, or this is gonna be turned in, this isn't gonna matter. Like literally telling yourself, talking to yourself, like, this is gonna end soon. So that you can also kind of get outside of that little like stress bubble that you're in when you're a student. The second one is have breakfast. That's something that I personally struggled with when I started working full-time. I was literally like waking up, heading straight to school, getting coffee on the way, no bagel, no nothing, just coffee to like wake up, going to work, and then not having lunch until 12, but no breakfast. So having lunch at 12 and then work again. So I would get off work at 5 and I would have class at 6. So sometimes I would pick up something on the way to class, like a snack or chips or something like that. But obviously the stomach issues that I have now are because I was really not taking care of my health at that time. So definitely try to have breakfast or try to have snacks at least. The next one is schedule and plan. So make sure that you make time to eat, that you take time to study between classes, especially if you're working. I know firsthand how hard it is to get a little break in between, your meeting and your class and your call and all these things. So make sure that you're planning out your schedule ahead of time. The other one is remember to have fun. I definitely prioritize myself a lot in this avenue, and I don't regret it at all because I really feel like I needed those memories to get me by everything that I was going through, So I would go out to dance, I would go out to eat dinner with my friends, I would grab drinks, and I would just have outings, like we would go on a hike. I think for me it was so necessary to have those moments of like peace and happiness between work and school, because not all life is meant for you to be like, producing. Like you're also supposed to have fun. So definitely recommend making time for that. I know we're in a pandemic, and you should not be going out and seeing people outside your household, but I think having a dinner over Zoom with your friends, or getting on FaceTime and chatting it up, have like a mini sleepover. I've had friends that I like Zoom with until it's like 2 in the morning and I'm like, oh my god, I gotta go to bed now. But definitely don't miss out on your opportunities to have fun. And the last one that I think is really hard for especially like anyone who is like the first daughter or the first son, I think it's really hard to move out of your house when you're the first child, and if you have younger siblings that look up to you, because there's this like expectation of you to take care of them. Or if you have like, I have both my mom and dad, but I know if like I had a single mom, like it would be really hard for me to move out, you know. But for me, like I just decided to move out on my own when I was 19, and honestly, like it was for the best. Like my relationship with my parents improved significantly. I think like a year later they were able to really understand the reason why I moved out. We were able to kind of address some of the flaws in our relationships, like child to parents. It also helped me understand responsibility a lot more. I think I've always been pretty responsible, but in the sense of like no one's there to back you up when your parents are not there, like all those kinds of things. I had to learn and really grow up really quickly, but I think for me it was something that was really essential and a way for me to prioritize my needs over, you know, like making my parents happy and content and me just kind of like not. So yeah, and then I did get a question also on the teaching credential process, but literally I'm like still going through it, so I'm still kind of like figuring it all out. But I can make another video on it because I'm still like also trying to figure it out. The programs that I applied to have teaching credential plus master's degree in like 15 months. So if you're looking into that, I would recommend getting your master's and your teaching credential if you can at the same time. I'm still learning a lot about like the CBEST, the CSET, all of these exams that you need to take, you know, aside from your degree. So I'm still learning, and I hope that, you know, anything that I learn I can share with y'all. But yeah, thank you so much for sticking around with this wild adventure. I'm excited to share with y'all any like good news, bad news, okay news that I hear back from the schools that I applied to. Hope you have a good rest of your day. Thank you. I hope you like, subscribe, and take care. Bye.